There's a sloop on the end of D-Dock in Kema, Texas. 44 feet of white fiberglass, a blue sail cover that hasn't been unzipped in 2 seasons, and a boot stripe going green. The man who owns her paid $62,000 for her. Since then, she has cost him another $94,000, and she has never once left Galveston Bay. Nothing broke. No hurricane, no grounding, no lightning strike, no dropped rig, no insurance claim, no lawyer. The wind was free. Everything else arrived in an envelope. And here's the part that should worry you. Not one of those invoices was big enough to frighten him. That's how it works. A production sailboat doesn't take your savings in one bite. She takes it in 20 small ones, spread across 6 years, each one small enough that you say yes without thinking twice. 30 years of saltwater on my hands, a lot of it offshore, and I have watched this happen to more good people than I can count. They didn't buy a bad boat. They bought a boat that costs money to own and never gives them a reason to use it. 6 years later, the dream is a line item. The crossing that never happened. The Bahamas winter that never got booked. The savings account that got quietly hollowed out by dockage, sail bills, and a yard that knows their first name. The salesman never mentions any of it. He's got a brochure with a sunset on it and a financing sheet underneath. 3 cabins, 2 heads, headroom you can stand up in, a swim platform for the grandkids. He sells you square footage on the water. Square footage on the water is billed by the foot every single month for as long as you own it. He gets paid on the day you sign. You get billed on the first of every month until the day you sell. So today, 6 production sailboats that will not sink you, will not strand you, will not fail you in any dramatic way at all. They will just quietly drain your savings while they sit at the dock. I'll give you the price, the mechanism, and the number that actually matters. One of them I'm going to defend, because one of them is honest about what it is. And the boat that empties the account fastest, I saved for last. Let's get into them. First, understand why a boat that never leaves the slip can still be the most expensive thing you own. Every fixed cost in sailing is priced by the foot. Slip rates on the Florida and California coasts run roughly $20 to $50 per foot per month right now. Keep a 40 to 45 footer in South Florida or Southern California, and the dockage alone lands somewhere between $12,000 and $25,000 a year. That's before bottom paint, before the survey, before $1 of the rig money. The marina never asks how many days you went sailing. It just bills you for the length. So does the travel lift. So does the bottom paint. So in the end, does the insurance company. And every one of those bills arrives whether the boat spent the year crossing the Gulf Stream or sitting in her slip with the cover on. We start at number 6, the Odyssey 35. She is the easiest boat on this list to fall for because she is the cheapest way in. You'll see a decent one asking between $22,000 and $35,000 today. A proper 35-foot cruiser with a wheel, a shower, an aft cabin, and lines led to the cockpit for the price of a used pickup. She was drawn by C. Raymond Hunt and Associates. She sails better than she has any right to. And her deck is balsa cord, which was fine in 1986 and is a problem now. 40 years of stanchion bolts, chain plate covers, and 100 deck fittings working in their holes, and water gets under the skin. It doesn't announce itself. It spreads the way a wind shift spreads across a bay. You don't see it move. You just notice one day that everything's different. Then the surveyor's moisture meter lights up around the chain plates and the mast step, and a professional Recor quote comes back in 5 figures. On a boat worth $30,000. Owners on the forums will also tell you about rust weeping from the iron keel and the hairline separation, where the keel meets the stub. She isn't a bad boat. She's a cheap entry and an expensive keep, and that's the whole story of this video. The next one is the opposite problem. She's a beautiful boat with an expensive secret. and the secret is hanging over your head every time you step aboard. Number 5. The C&C 37 and the 37/40 that followed it. Now we're talking about a real sailing boat. Robert Ball drew her, she's quick, she's fair in the water, and on a Wednesday night, she will humble boats worth 3 times the money. You'll find a tired one in the high 20s and a loved one well past 100,000. Here's what nobody tells the buyer. She came with rod rigging, not wire rod. And rod is the quietest, most expensive clock on this list. Re-rig a 40-footer with wire, and you're looking at $6,000 to $10,000. Re-rig her with rod, mast out, new rod heads, terminals, the hydraulic backstay serviced, and the yard's number starts around $10,000 and can push past $20,000. Your insurer will ask the rig's age. Your surveyor will write it up. And the boat that was priced like a bargain now has a bill attached that costs more than a third of what you paid for her. You bought a racer that stopped racing. The rig never got the memo. Number 4, the Jeannot Sun Odyssey 45. Philippe Briand hull, twin wheels, a cockpit you could host a wedding in. The mid-2000s boats are asking around $200,000 in the States. The older 45.2 from the late 90s, with the Yanmar 4 JH2, comes in far cheaper, and that's the one that pulls buyers in. 2 drains, and they run at the same time. The first is teak. That gorgeous laid deck is a wear item with a shrinking life. And when the seams go and the caulk lifts, you are not looking at a repair. You're looking at a project. Pulling teak off a 45-footer and repairing what's underneath is one of the biggest bills in coastal sailing. And it doesn't make the boat 1 knot faster. The second is the sail wardrobe. A furling main and a big Genoa on a 45-footer is $8,000 to $12,000 from a mainstream loft. And a great many of these boats came out of charter fleets, which means 20 weeks a year of strangers rounding up in a squall and grinding the sheets home. The gel coat gets polished before every handover. The sails don't. I moved an ex-charter 45 North out of the islands one spring. She looked like a showroom boat at the dock, teak oiled, cushions new, hull like a mirror. 2 nights out, the main split along a seam that had been stitched twice already, and we finished the passage under headsail alone. The boat was fine. The boat was always going to be fine. It was the $6,000 of soft goods hanging off her that had been quietly used up by somebody else's vacation. Number 3 is where I have to be fair, and I'm going to be, because this next boat has been kicked around by people who've never sailed one. The Catalina 42 Mark II. You'll see clean ones between $75,000 and $149,000, and the crowd will tell you she's a floating condominium. They're wrong, and here's why. Catalina built a boat that is completely honest about what it is. A well-mannered, easy-to-handle coastal cruiser for a couple who want the Bahamas, the Chesapeake, or the Sea of Cortez, and don't want to fight the boat to get there. The factory still supports her. Parts have part numbers. Rudders, hardware, hatches, keel bolts. A Catalina owner can pick up the phone and buy the piece, which is more than the owners of half the boats on this list can say. And I'll defend the thing everybody sneers at. The in-mast furling main. Yes, it costs you sail shape. Yes, it can jam if you neglect it. But for 2 people in their 60s who want to reef from the cockpit at 10 o'clock at night instead of crawling forward in the dark, that mainsail keeps them sailing 5 more years. 5 more years of sailing is not a compromise. It's the whole point. She still costs money at the dock, but on a 42, the money you spend stays in the boat. If that's the kind of straight talk you can't get from a man with a brochure, do me a favor before we get to the last 2. Tap the like button, then hit subscribe. I put one of these out every week, and there's always another boat worth pulling apart. Number 2, the Bavaria Cruiser 46. Big German boat, huge interior volume, 4 cabins, 3 heads, teak in the cockpit, and a price in the States that looks like a bargain against a Beneteau or a Jeannot of the same size. Look at the listings for a minute and you'll spot the pattern. Croatia, Greece, Croatia, Croatia. That's your first clue. She's built around a Volvo D2 with a sail drive leg, and the sail drive is a clock with a bill attached. Volvo's own schedule says replace the rubber diaphragm at 7 years. The kit itself is a few $100s. Getting it done is not. The engine has to come forward, the leg has to come out, and the boat has to come out of the water, and owners report yard bills of $2,000 to $4,000 for the privilege. Your surveyor will look for the date stamp. Your insurer may ask for the receipt. Then add a thin American dealer network, European parts on a European lead time, and a resale market where the buyers all seem to be somewhere else. That's a whole lot of boat, sitting in a slip, waiting on a part that's coming from Germany. And that brings us to number 1, and the boat that will empty your account faster than anything else on this list, the Hunter 466. 46 feet, a beam like a highway, a walk-in aft cabin, air conditioning, a generator, in-mast furling, and the B&R rig with its swept spreaders and no backstay. 1999 to 2004. Asking prices right now run from about $99,900 up past $175,000, with most of them clustered around $140,000. And she is a genuinely comfortable boat. That's the trap. Because every fixed cost you will ever pay is calculated off her length, and she is 46 feet long. The slip is billed by the foot. In South Florida or Southern California, that's $12,000 to $25,000 a year, every year, whether you sail her or not. The haul out is by the foot. The bottom paint is by the foot. The insurance is priced off the value and the length. The sales are $8,000 to $12,000. And the systems that sold you the boat, the air conditioning, the genset, the bow thruster, the electric winches, the 2 heads, every one of them is a service interval with a technician's hourly rate attached. So the buyer works out a monthly payment he can carry and never runs the second number, what it costs to simply keep her floating, whether or not he goes anywhere. 6 weekends a year on a boat that bills like a mortgage. She doesn't bankrupt you, she bleeds you, $50 a foot at a time. So what would I do with my own money? If I wanted the dock life, honestly priced, I'd buy the Catalina 42 Mark II, and I'd buy the one whose big bills are already behind her. Rig receipt in the folder. Sails under 5 years old. A dry deck on the meter. Let the last owner pay for the education. But here's the answer I'd actually give a friend. Buy the smaller boat. Buy the 36-footer instead of the 46, put her on a mooring instead of a slip, and take the $10,000 or $12,000 a year you just saved and go sailing with it. A boat you use 40 days a year at 36 feet will give you more of the dream than a boat you use 6 weekends a year at 46. Every fixed cost in this sport is a tax on length. The wind never asked how long your boat was, and neither did the horizon. Next time, the other side of this coin, the used sailboats that don't do this to you. The ones that stop depreciating, hold their money, and in a couple of cases, quietly go up while everything around them slides. If you own one of them, you already know. If you don't, you'll want to hear which ones they are before you sign anything. Until then, don't let a slip receipt teach you what a broker should have. Run the second number before you run the first, and when you finally cast off, do it on a boat that's still paying you back on the far side of the bay.